And we can turn it over to Sarah now, who is the founder of Tools for Better. And Sarah's going to be talking about employee resource groups. So Sarah, I'll let you take it over.
Well, thank you. First of all, can you hear me okay? And can you see my screen? Excellent. Brilliant. All right. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to Etty. That was so informative. And I loved the very clear kind of step-by-step way of thinking about things. Just a little bit about myself. Hi, I'm Sarah Healy. I'm a founder at Tools for Better, where we offer diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging solutions for business. And I'm really excited to be talking to you today about something that is so close to my heart, which is setting up employee resource groups. Just a little bit about me. I've been working a long time, over 20 years, in a plethora of industries. I'm a mom, a mother of two wonderful boys. I'm a sister of three. I have kick-ass parents. My dad is a cancer survivor. He experienced esophageal cancer over COVID, so we're very proud to have him. I'm very, proud of the journey that he's been through. Um, I love mentoring. I'm a mentor and I love to be mentored. But I think the most important piece out of all of this is the fact that I love movies. I love movie trivia, podcasts about movies. And as a 42-year-old mother of two, I also love true crime podcasts. So SSDGM, if you know, you know. So that's just a little bit about me before we jump in. And the reason why I kind of go through that is, I think it's important to look at identities so that we can kind of think about belonging as well. So, right. So employee resource groups. Why is this important to me? So I started in Facebook back in 2018 and I was there for 5 years. And when I was there, I started in the Dublin office and it was going through a time of growth. So to give you context, in the space of 2 weeks, we went from having 20 people on the floor I was on to having 120 people. And I was trying to find my feet as a global people manager with a global team with very limited support in the Dublin office. Now, that's nobody's fault. It's just the nature of having like a global, like standing up a global org. But about 2 months into my journey, I was having a negative experience with a particular male colleague. I was being undermined at every step. I was being spoken down to, spoken over in meetings. And basically, I was just enduring and experiencing a challenging environment with a direct peer. Okay. And so after a particular tense meeting, it got too much for me and I ended up crying in a stairwell in the office. And my boss, who happened to be, visiting from the States and also happened to be passing in that stairwell at the time, stopped me. She reassured me. She gave me a hug, and she didn't like what I was experiencing, and she made it her mission to make sure that that didn't happen to anybody else, and that didn't happen to that it addressed for me as well. So that entire issue did get resolved, but in that moment, it got me thinking about how shit it felt, to be honest. And as a people leader, like if I'm not feeling supported, there must be other people feeling supported. So maybe perhaps I should go out and, put the census out and see how other people are feeling. And so I got 7 women leaders from my floor into the room and we talked about ways we can potentially support each other. And you could see like the shoulders relax in the room. Like everybody was like, oh my God, yes, we need to be talking about these things. This is absolutely how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very alone. And so we started to kind of like build out, what it was that was making us feel this way, and essentially how we can, help each other, help the community, help the entry level people, making sure that we're supporting, that there's like career opportunities, that we're giving back to the community, outside of Facebook as well. And so that was the start of it, right? That was the kickoff of the employee resource group for women in EMEA. And from that group of 7 women, we grew to be a global resource group where we had like a very global focus with regional initiatives. And I think we went from having like 7 people at the start to having like over 2,000, maybe even more at the end. And to me, it's the thing that I'm probably most proudest of in my entire career. And just a shout out to anybody who's on the call who may have been part of that journey with me. And I think, I suppose, just to open before I move on to the specifics, has anybody in the group, are you part of a resource group? And what is it that makes it so special for you? Now, I can't see the chat, so Neve, if you can help me out.
I can help. Yes, we have a couple of people. Maddie, there's a few people with a Pride group,
Amazing.
LGBTQ plus group, BIPOC, and then another one, several, co-chair of a neurodiversity ERG as well, disabled employee network. Yeah, and one at VMware as well. So yeah, we have a few people on the same page.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. And I'll be going through some of my top tips, but if there's anything I'm missing, would love to invite the group to contribute as well. So, right. So for those of you who don't know, an employee resource group is a voluntary employee-led group, which aims to create an environment of support for those who mutually identify with certain characteristics. And they usually aim to serve marginalized groups that tend to experience discrimination or be excluded or essentially just not included in the decision making. And like the objective is mainly to support each other, to be able to talk about, things that those shared experiences. And like one of the broader intents of an ERG is, building that community beyond the ERG itself, like celebrating those characteristics and, those things that bring us together, and then also building awareness to the challenges that particular groups face. And so there's a lot of value in well-organized ERGs, and organizations that enable these groups can see like benefits such as improved company culture and like a happier, more productive workforce. So whether it's gender, I'm going to scratch my nose now, sorry, whether it's gender or neurodiversity, disability, lifestyle or interest groups, like these contribute to that sense of belonging that allows individuals to really feel like they can bring their best selves and their most authentic selves to the I was going to say to the office, but to wherever your workspace is. So, what are the top tips when setting up an ERG? Right. So I'm coming at this very much from my own experience, and as I say, I invite different perspectives as well. Um, Understand your why, right? What is the gap or the need that you're trying to address? Is there a particular problem that you're trying to solve? And if so, what I would suggest doing is starting with a blank piece of paper and just writing down a few questions, such as, why is this important to me? What have I observed in the workplace? And at the end of all of this, how do I want to feel? Even if it's just feeling fluffy and warm and cuddly, that's awesome, right? But that will help you kind of shape what it is that you want to achieve out of your ERG. And after that, what I would tend to do is have a conversation, right? Do some digging. Start to like scope out with your peers, with people in like the workplace. Is this something that is needed? Is this something that other people are feeling? And how like get those people together to start kind of really kind of build out this concept. And then I would take another blank piece of paper and I would write out who, what, where, why, when, right? And why not? And I would answer each of those questions. And if you can answer each of those questions, you have the formation of a business plan, of a proposal for your employee resource group. Just to a throwback to Ettie's there, but a friend of mine was actually diagnosed with ADHD in her late 30s. And unfortunately, that's like a common age for women to be diagnosed, whereas boys tend to be diagnosed at around 7. And that's a story for another day. But anyway, when she began to understand her diagnosis, what it meant for her, she realized that there were certain accommodations or certain things that could be offered in the workplace that weren't. And it wasn't due to any kind of, um, it wasn't due to ignorance or anything. It was just a lack of understanding of what was needed, right? And so she realized that this is an area that she could definitely kind of set up a resource group or something where she could actually support other people who were going through this. So like that, she wrote out her observations, she had a conversation or 3, and she discovered that there were other people who, had ADHD, who were enduring as opposed to embracing their neurodiversity. And that was how the ERG for ADHD was stood up. Now, specifically for ADHD as opposed to neurodiversity, because that was what was needed and that was the gap that they had at the time. And so they support each other, they act as sounding boards for reasonable accommodations, and they build awareness with the broader community. And such is the power of an ERG. So once you know that you have a problem that you want to solve for, the next thing that you need is an emboldened group of people, right? Members of the community that care about this as much as you do and who are motivated to deliver it, right? So I don't know, I think it was mentioned in the chat there, like that engagement piece can be incredibly challenging. People like, when I started the Women App community, everybody had good intentions. Everybody wanted to be able to talk about it, but then translating that into action became a different thing, right? So understanding upfront who is going to dedicate their time and expertise to the ERG and not just those who want to talk about it. They're very different, but both are incredibly important because every voice, is as important as the last. When people seek to get involved, it's just important to have that two-way piece, right? How much do you want to get involved? What kind of expertise do you want to give? And like, just really seek that clarity and commitment early on. And when you have that clarity and commitment and you have that group of emboldened members, then the next thing you want to consider is your strategy and your objective. What is it that you're actually wanting to do? So it's taking that piece of paper, that plan, and just kind of building that out, getting everybody in the room to align behind your mission, your vision, your commitments, your objectives, what you want to achieve, what your roadmap looks like, and just getting everybody on the same page. I like to use design thinking, and I'm happy to go into that in a little bit more detail, but the design thinking approach really puts, it's solution oriented, and it puts people at the center of the process when you're thinking about building out your roadmap. And so I found that incredibly useful for building out resource groups. Then the next piece is endorsement from leadership. So that's sponsorship side of things. This makes the group feel seen and recognized and have an opportunity to influence decision making at a senior level. And vice versa, leaders can embrace the communities that they identify with. And so to me, sponsorship demonstrates an organization's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to go that one step further, I hazard to say that I think companies should actually consider ERGs as part of performance as well, right? That commitment to your community and that commitment to the organization should reflect in how you're contributing to the culture of the organization as well. And Niamh, I'm going to go back to you if there's any additional comments there before I jump on, because I think this is a piece that can be a potential challenge for ERGs.
I think one of the challenges there mentioned is making the business impact, or maybe connecting it to the business outcomes, because like you said, it's voluntary led things. So to get that buy-in, so the business impact.
That's exactly right. And that's where like organizations need to have like DEI be like as part of their business objectives, right? It's one of those challenges when you think about diversity and inclusion in general. Is like, how do you justify this? Because it takes time. And like, there has been a lot of studies done on this to demonstrate that those people who feel like they can bring their authentic selves and, feel like they belong are more willing to contribute to the company and therefore influence the bottom line. So there's a knock-on effect for that business impact if you look broader than, the initiatives at hand. But like on the other side of that company needs to then demonstrate that commitment by saying, right, as part of our objectives, we expect everybody to contribute to community, either through delivering to a mentorship program or being part of an ERG. That is, to me, one of the only ways that these can be as successful as they can potentially be. Mm-hmm. And then finally, and by the way, Niamh, please jump across me if I'm missing any important points in the chat. That's I'm going to blame Teams, but I know it's my own technical challenges. So, finally, cool. Finally, it's be clear on making sure that you have in your resource group safe space for the people who are experiencing challenges and areas that they want to be able to speak with people who have also experienced those challenges, and then also having a space for allies as well, right? So they're two separate pieces, but both incredibly important, because for ERGs to be as successful and as impactful as they can be, that potential, bringing in allies and making sure that we're all showing up for each other is part of that process, and it's so incredibly important. So safe space is non-negotiable, And allyship is incredibly important as we think about all of these things. And one of the challenges we had with Women At was that we didn't have many men getting involved because they didn't think it was their issue, even though a lot of the challenges that women face is because of the patriarchy and things that have happened to us on the back of our male counterparts. So being able to actually create an atmosphere of positive masculinity and education in terms of how you can show up as an ally is incredibly important as part of this, and not just male allies for from a gender perspective, but just across every ERG, right? Intersectionality as well is a key piece in this when we're thinking about ERGs. If you set these up and you have them set up as a silo and say, this is women and this is neurodiversity and this is disability, then you're missing a trick, which is how you bring these communities together to be each other's allies and to think about the lived experiences and how unique they are for each of the individuals. And, sorry, go ahead, Niamh.
I was just going to say, I think you touched on one of the issues there people are mentioning is maybe our focus is vague, and maybe how can the ERG support the diversity and inclusion group? And it's probably is that having things siloed.
Yes, that's exactly right. And this was based on learned experience from my first year, is that if you silo it, then there's going to be a level of competition between different resource groups, and then it becomes there's an underlying tension there, is what I've seen happen. So having a DEI committee or having an intersectionality champion are different ways that you can really bridge that gap there. But I'll give you an example. In one company I work with, they have a DEI committee and they have their resource groups as well. But when it comes to Pride, everybody contributes to Pride, no matter which resource group it is. When it comes to International Women's Day, everybody contributes to that. So everybody supports each other and engages with the other resource groups as allies, but then also has their time for their safe space as well. And that creates that connectivity and that sense of community throughout the organization as well. Now,
super.
Yeah,
I think Sarah, we might just wrap up.
I know. Sorry, I'm a rambler. What can I say?
No, do you know what? I think everybody has. I've certainly found that fascinating, and we have shared your LinkedIn there, also your toolsforbetter.com, where you can work with Sarah. I think the way you approach it and just your style of communicating everything is really really engaging as well. So I think that breaking down what can be a really difficult and maybe challenging things for people, doing it in a really, really great way and interesting way. And actually, I think this is something that we'll probably dive into much deeper in sessions after this one, because but do feel free to put questions in there or connect with Sarah on LinkedIn so she can bring some of her training and workshops, or just even talk to people about some of the challenges that you're facing with that. But I think that was a really super talk, so thanks so much, Sarah.
Thanks very much, Niamh. Thanks everybody.